Chapter 5. The days aboard the blue ship were long and hot. The night brought some relief, but even the nights were quite warm, and it had not rained once since they'd left their island home. They ran out of water in the wooden casks they'd brought with them after 20 days aboard the blue ship. But the little boy wasn't worried. He'd had a plan, right from the start. "We can use the water in the coconuts," he told his father. "And the bison we've brought with us have very sharp horns. They will help us open the coconuts." The bison were confused at first. The little girl was the first to approach the bison, her friends, with a coconut cradled in her hands. The bison simply stared at her as she raised a coconut up and over their heads. She brought it down on the horn closest to her. Water gushed out of the coconut and spilled at her feet. But the bison remained calm as the little girl took one coconut after another and opened them on the bison's sharp horns. They trusted the little girl, who had been so kind to them. After she'd opened 8 of the coconuts they'd brought with them, 2 for each of them, the little boy helped her pass them around to their mother and father. The coconut meat tasted sweet. Their father said it was quite good for them and would hold them over for days. The white coconut milk was refreshing. Their mother took some of the coconut meat and ground it up to make even more milk, as well as a flat pancake that she would leave out in the sun to dry. The little boy had been right. The coconuts were valuable. He was glad he'd climbed so many trees in order to bring so many of them on the ship. Some days after they'd started to open the coconuts on the bison horns, the little girl asked their father if the white owls might somehow be able to fly out in front of them. "Why the great white owls?" her mother asked. "And where will they go?" "The owls can fly very high," the little girl said. "They might be able to see if there is land somewhere over the horizon. And if they see that land, how will they be able to tell us they've seen something? And will they be able to tell us the way?" her mother asked. "I will know," the little girl said. "I will see it in their eyes. I understand them." Their mother said nothing, but she believed the little girl. "The white owls will also fly up high and spy on the dragons above us," the little girl said. "They are fierce. They aren't afraid of anything. Not even dragons?" her mother asked. "Not even dragons," said the little girl. 2 great white owls left the blue ship the next morning. The little girl talked to both quietly, and then watched as they flew gracefully up into the air and then flew swiftly to the east. The white owls were gone for hours. The little girl kept careful watch for them. She rarely left her spot on the prow of the ship. She dangled her legs over the front of the ship as she waited. Finally, as the sun was setting, the little girl saw them. They were flying low, just over the water. Their long wings glided easily just over the top of the waves. They landed on the prow of the boat, one to each side of the little girl. Both settled easily into a spot on either side of her and stared up at the little girl. She looked into their eyes. She offered them something to eat, which they took slowly. The little girl knew why they'd been gone for so long. "They found land," the little girl said. "How can you be so sure?" their mother asked. "Because they are not tired from the journey," the little girl said. "And they have found something to eat. They are not hungry. They found something to eat on the land they found." The little boy and girl were so happy at this news. They might be able to find their new home in the next day or so, and not a moment too soon, because their coconuts were almost gone. There was just one more thing to do. The next morning, the little girl pointed to the sky at a spot very high above them, where she could see the dragons circling. She looked into the eyes of the great white owls. She was sure they understood. When the 2 white owls left the ship, they immediately flew straight up toward the clouds and the dragons. They did not stop flying until they'd almost disappeared from view. But as the 2 great white owls approached the dragons, the sky erupted. The dragons left their hiding places behind the clouds and came after them. The little girl held her breath. The dragons flew straight at the 2 white owls. Fierce streams of fire erupted from their mouths. The little girl could clearly see the streams of fire cover the 2 white owls. But then, in the blink of an eye, the 2 owls flew out from beneath the stream of fire. They flew straight at the dragons before turning at the last minute. They flew a pattern around the dragons, zigzagging as they went. The dragons could not fly as swiftly. The white owls were behind them, away from the deadly fire, in the blink of an eye. And then the owls hurtled back to Earth and to the safety of the blue ship. They had done their job. They had made certain that the dragons were, in fact, after them. Now it was only a matter of time before the dragons would come for them, the little boy knew. He only hoped that they would find land and their new home soon. Their father knew what would happen next. The dragons would soon see the land for themselves. And then there would be no more reason to follow them at a safe distance. But their mother and father also had a plan. It would require the little boy and girl to be brave. It might be their only chance to escape the dragons and save the animals aboard the blue ship. Once they saw the land that the great white owls had visited, their mother and father would set the plan in motion. It had to work. They were so close to their new home.